The first question, this goes to Pius. How do you recover your queries? How do you recover your queries? You know, this data was created last time. How do we recover the queries?
I would go to data, and then queries and connections.
Queries and connections. Yeah, that's true. Now, that's how you recover your queries. In case this pane is closed, don't think that the queries were deleted. No, this data is directly connected to the other folders. So all these are the queries we did last time. You remember last time we did a query for table 1 where we are trying to merge. So we created table 1 and table 2 and we tried to append it. This is the append we did last time. Then we did the merging. We tried out to do the merging. Then this was the customer lookup. So this time I'm going to try and remove these appending the table 1 and 2. Just a moment. And sorry, this and this. So that's how we delete. You delete queries. You can always select them and delete them, which means now what I'm remaining with is the customer lookup. So the customer lookup, that was one we loaded last time. So it means that now these ones are no longer connected to the query, which means even if I refresh, nothing happens to this. So I don't need these sheets. Even that is deleted. And the merged one is deleted. So we only have, even I can delete this, we shall reload it again. Now I only remain with the customer lookup. So when I look at my folder we used last time, this is the FoodMart CSV. So you see we have a calendar lookup, customer lookup. These are the 3 transactions, the 2 files we had combined in one of our sessions. Then this is the returns, then this is the region, product, and store. Let's do a quick run through. We see how we can engage on some other stuff. So we need to connect these transactions again. That one, you know how we do it. We go to data, then we go to file, you say from folder. With Joseph, don't worry, you'll go through this. I will share with you the videos. Then you look for the folder. This is just a review of what we did like in session 2, I think. This is the folder. And when it opens, we need these 2 files, this and this. So we say transform, right? So when you transform this, what do we need? We need the transactions. So last time I told you that click on one of the transactions, just copy the user or the keyword. The same keyword is what you'll bring here. Text files, contains, then you paste that there. So the moment we do OK, we only have 2. So at this point, we said that we now need only the data, which is the content. We don't need all the other columns because it is metadata. I'll right click on this and remove other columns. So I've removed other columns. Remember, these steps are logging here. And last time, I was telling you that actually is one of the things I was going to go through with you, the best practices with Power Query. Maybe I can say it from here. You have to make sure that you give your queries clear naming before loading the data, such that you understand exactly which query was this. Because all the files we shall be picking from that folder, they will be coming with a folder name. But at the end of the day, you're going to get confused. Which query am I looking at? So when you check here that these are transaction queries, I still have the word transaction on the clipboard. I will paste it here. So these are transactions. we'll go ahead and expand or combine files. So the moment we combine files, all this we are doing review, we have ever done this. It does a sample of one file, we load this. Okay, and it will combine the two files. Here are the two files. So remember this one, we had, this is a quality check. So you can always remove it if you see that it is confusing you by going to view and you remove the column distribution. It is a column distribution. I remember we looked at the column distribution, we looked at the column profile and column quality. Maybe at some point I'll give you a quiz and ask you what they mean. So we have loaded the transaction 5. Now let's load the others, because since the others are 1, 1, you see the returns is 1, lookup is 1, this is 1, this is 1. The customer is 1, the calendar is 1. So all these we are going to load them at once. So first of all, we go back home and load these two. We have to load these two. We have to create connections. Then we add these two, the data model. So the moment you do that, remember last time we were doing some other session which we needed to load to sheets, but ideally you can even convert this customer lookup, which we loaded last time, to connection. So how do we convert that? You come here to your queries and you can minimize this. Where is our query for customer lookup is here. So which means when I right click on this, when you right click on this, you go to load to. So load to, remember we had loaded it as a table. We never want to load tables because we want to load this data as a connection. Then after that, we can create a data model for it. So you'll create a connection, then you add it to the data model. So I had not told you this one before, now you know. So they are telling me that if you change this from sheet to connection, you're going to lose, this sheet is no longer going to update. And yes, that's what we want. So, okay, and the sheet will automatically disappear. So, because now we have loaded it as a connection. So now we have two tables we have loaded, which means this you can rename it such that it shouldn't confuse you. That's our plain sheet. Then let's go and load the others at once. I think we did it once in session 1. Session 2, let's do it again. So you go back to data, or you can even come here directly on, you see data from text stroke CSV. So this same option here is here, right? So if you know that you're loading a CSV, you can pick it directly always from here. So I'll click there, then go to this folder, which is having all the CSVs. But remember, I want all the CSVs apart from transaction. So I can just do a Control A. No, it's not working. Let me use a Shift. Still, I have to load one by one. Yeah, I have to load one by one, but that's fine. We can go ahead and do it. Or let's use another option. That one is going to load one by one. Let's try to connect to the folder again. We see whether we can pick all of them at once. So if we can connect to the folder and open this is the folder. Now, this is the challenge you get. Okay, you can go ahead and let's transform. I want to show you something. Now, when you transform this, it means that you don't want this. You'll remove it. But at the end of the day, this option works only for when you're combining the files. It becomes a challenge when you want to load every file on its own query. So that is always a challenge, and it is hard always to do. Yes, I know you can go ahead and click here on records and load one by one, but it is a prompt to many mistakes. So I will cancel this, which means here the option you have is loading one CSV at a time. So we shall begin with the calendar lookup. Remember now, this is the calendar lookup. This is the calendar we have. So let's transform it. Now, when you transform it, there's something I've seen. When you transform it, you see the date here is part of the data, and this date is supposed to be a header. So how do you adjust this? What do we do? Pius, if you can unmute.
Yes, just go to the left right-hand corner. And no, the left, is that
here
box? Yes, and use first row as headers.
Use first row as headers. Are you sure it is here? Okay, yes. Yeah, there is this and there is this. So
okay.
Yeah. So you can always choose. You know, all what is here is part of the transform and home. We went through all those functionalities last time. Here they give you a shortcut. Yeah, that's good. You are aware about that. Now remember, now this is being looked at as a text, but really, is this a text? It's not. This is date. So which means we have to come here and change the data type to date. And if your date has date stroke time, you can always go for that. So we shall go for date. The moment I click on date, it is asking me, remember I told you last time that if you have a step here of change type, and you are again changing another type, it will ask you, do you want these changes to be combined in this, or you want them to create another step? So when you say create a new step, it will create a new change type 2. You get? But now here we are getting an error. Now that's the purpose, or that's the advantage, that when you're creating on a different step, such that you can easily cancel this step and go back to the previous one. But if we combine it, means we are going to lose everything that was even in this change type 1. Now, we are finding a challenge that some of the dates are not reading as date. Why? Is because this date format is reading as the middle ones as months, yet the middle ones are days. Because that's why when it reaches on 13th, since there is no 13th month, it tells you it can't convert that. Now, there is another option we use is when you click here and you say use local. So use local is always an option that changes types, many types, but it looks at the locality you are in. So use local means that when we go to this, just a moment, it asks you, yes, we need this to change date, but the change date we need, we are looking at our locality as Uganda. You will always select the country you're in, because some of the countries put their months in the middle, then some other countries put the months at the end. So if I say Uganda, it means here they show you that the 29/03 is going to be read as 29th of March. And I think that is, again, the same thing there. They are showing us. Let's you try to use English, American, United Kingdom. It is reading the same thing. United States, yes. Now you see with the United States, it is month, day, then year. It means when I use this, it is going actually to read the data I was having, because this data, actually the data we are looking at was captured for a supermarket in the United States. That's why their dates are in the middle. So the moment I go ahead and say, okay, you'll see now it has created the date column. It has changed the type without giving us errors. I hope you have understood how we maneuver around when you get an error, or when you're dealing with data that is in another format or another locality. So I think that is fine. I had not told you about the locale, and these are the things I wanted to hint on in this session. So that's how we change locale. Now, since our date is already in the date format, the moment it goes on the right, it aligns on the right, it means that it is in the date format. The moment it remains on the left, it means that it is in the text format. You see on this step, it is still on the left, which means it is in the text format. So those are the two differences we have. So here you go ahead and load this. Everything we are loading it, connections and data type, and we add it to the data model. So that's our calendar. I'm going to show you a pinch on how we deal with the calendar. So we are loading even the others. So we are loading customer. So the moment you see that everything is fine, I don't need to transform. You don't need to go to transform. You just come here directly and say load to this, then add to data model. So remember to be disciplined in the initial stages. When you are not sure how your data is, always first take it to the transform and have the Power Query editor look at the data, whether it is cleaned enough for you to load it. But since I already know that this data is cleaned enough, I can go ahead and load it to the data model. And that's what I'm doing. So we can now pick the returns. So the same data is what we shall use on Saturday to do DAX. So don't mind if we are repeating some of the things we did last time. So these are the returns. I can go ahead and also load this directly because I see everything is clean. So by the way of looking at the sample, it is always easy for you to know that it is now okay. Let me load it. And here the names, since I'm picking one CSV by one, it is picking exactly the names that are given to the files. So even the files were named in a way that there are no spaces, there is no everything. That's why I'm using them directly. Remember here in the queries, we don't name queries with space. That's why you see here they named them with underscore, such that we can pick them at once. So I'll go ahead and pick another. This is the product lookup. If you have a question, you can ask as I load all of them. I'm going to use, it is the same procedure of loading all this. We'll go ahead and load now the region. So the region, by the way that the way I look at the table, when you see the headers are correctly aligned as headers, then you don't have to bother to take to transform. But if you have anything you want to do on this, please, you always have to do that. So here we load this. And then we pick the last one, which is the store lookup. Now the store lookup, it is okay by the way of exploration. I can see everything is fine. We have two IDs, the store ID and the region ID, and all is good. So we go ahead and load this to a connection and add it to a data model. Now, we have loaded all our queries. If I double click on one of the queries, I should be able to see all the queries here, all the 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 queries. Remember, this one was combined. But the may I look at this, it tells me that let's put the column quality. So when I look at this, let me see, we have errors. I think all is fine. Now, the next thing we are going to do is, I want us to look at how do we create, first, we are going to first go to a calendar table. How do we create a calendar table? But before that, when we go to pivot and we go to manage pivot table, you'll see all our queries are loaded here. And if I take this into diagram view, you see all of them are here. I will reduce this because I know some are hidden the other side. But remember, the transaction table is the fact table, right? Then all the others are lookup tables. And this date lookup also is going to be like a transaction table. So fact table. So all these, last time we said, actually even the returns is a fact table because the returns keep changing on a daily. Then the product, this is a dimension table. The region, this is a dimension table. And the store, this is a dimension table. Last time I explained what is the difference between dimension and fact table, that a dimension table is a table that doesn't change on a daily. It changes once in a while. In other words, why do we have two customer lookups? Did we load two at once? I think we did. We shall remove one. So I can go ahead and remove this or hide it from the client tool. So the moment you hide it, it grays out like that. You should always be keen on deleting things in Power Query, because when you delete, if it is connected to all your data, it means that you're going to get errors which you're going to correct for more than an hour. So just hide it, put it aside, such that even if it is still connected to your data, you don't get an impact directly. Now, these are our dimension tables, which means the data they carry. This one carries data about customers. This one carries data about products. This one carries data about the region. This one carries data about the stores. Then this one carries data about the returns. What I'm saying, returns are daily. That's why here you have a date. And also here, when you come to another fact table, which is this, you have a stock date, you have a transaction date. So we shall go with the stock date. But these ones will not have date most of the times, or you can have the date when the product was created, but it doesn't play a lot of importance to what you're doing. Maybe if you want to know the product was registered, it has spent how many days in the system, you can always use that date for that purpose. And that's why now we always have a calendar date, a calendar table. A calendar table helps us to combine any date that is in any table here. Like you see, we have birthday. So if you want to get the age of your customers, so since you have a birthday here, which means you can also connect it here. So this is an exploration. What we have done, we have explored our data or our diagrams. So if I close this, let's first come back to here. Yes, we had created two customer lookups. Why do we have this that is having few rows and this that is having more rows? This one we used it last time. There are some things we filtered out. No, this is a calendar, sorry. Calendar customer. Oh, there is this. Yep. So we are not meant to load this the second time. I can go ahead and delete it. So most of the times, make sure that you get rid of any duplicates, because any duplicate, it costs you. It costs you the storage and all that, and the time when it takes to refresh. Now, looking at the data table, sorry, the calendar table, which we call sometimes a date table. So this is the calendar table. So the calendar table has all the dates. But remember, at some point, there are some things I will want to run directly from a calendar. What are those things we add? Now we are creating the real calendar table we need. What are the things that we need? First of all, we need a year. So you'll come on this field of date, you go to add column, then everything is here for you. So the moment you come to date, you can say, I want to add a year. It will automatically add. So all this was 1997, maybe other dates or other years at the bottom. Then come back here. What are we adding next? We're adding a month. So I may add a month number, then I will also add a month name. So I can first add a month number, which is month. It will add. Then I can also still go ahead and add a month name. Now, why are we doing all this? That when we start creating our reports, it is going to be easy for us to create like a bar chart that has month names, because in the other tables we don't have names of the months. We just have a date. That's why we always have a calendar table. I will request you to read more about the purposes or the uses why you always have to have a calendar table in your data model. Then the same, I will pick, we can have quarter. I think we shall run a report at some point of quarters. So quarter one, quarter two, like that. Then we can run another report on days or week of the days. Yeah, we can have the week of the days. Week of the year. Week 1, week 2 up to week 52. That's week of the year. Then we can have last but not least, that is the day name. The day name is name of the day. So actually the header comes as day name. That's why I was remembering day name. So this is it. Now this is already our calendar table. I will just go ahead, and when you have already loaded your stuff to your connections, you don't have to again look for the option. Just click close and load. It is going to load. Now, it is not increasing in rows because we just added columns. Now, this time when we go back to the data model, you'll see our calendar now. I can reduce on screen. You'll see our calendar now. You see it has now other fields. Now we can do, okay, I will just put those on the board. Then I put the calendar table in the middle. Then put these at the bottom. So you can always see how best you can arrange your data to make sure that you don't have a lot of overlapping. Now, obviously, I think I will have a lot of overlapping, but no, let me put this here. Actually, let me put it in the
Chris.
Yes,
sorry
yes.
to cut you short. Just thinking through usually what guides your start date of the calendar? Is it random? The earliest date in your data?
Guiding what?
The earliest date of the calendar.
Oh, the earliest date of the calendar. Now, when you don't have when you don't have a calendar table, this is the way how you'll do it. I'm going to close this again. We first go back. I'm going to create a calendar table from my data directly. So how do we do that? You come to this. This is your fact table, right? You right click on it and duplicate it. So the moment you duplicate, now it has created a transaction number 2. I will change this to date table. Let me call it date table such that it is different from the other one. Date table. Now, leave all the other steps as how they are. It means that every time your transactions increase, even the dates here will be increasing, right? Now, you come and look for the date you're having for your transactions. Now, this is the date we're having for our transactions. So all the other data, we don't want it on this one. I'll right click and remove other columns. The moment I remove other columns, now this is our date column. Then you first of all, they are duplicates because remember it was a transactional table. It was a fact table. So you'll come here and remove all duplicates. You remove duplicates like this. So the moment you remove duplicates, this had errors. I remember it was showing errors. Let me try to remove errors just for now, not to sweat with what to do. So remove errors. Before we remove duplicates, let's first remove errors, because that one is what starts. Then after that, you remove duplicates. You see now there are more dates, which means the error was somewhere in the middle. But for now, this becomes your date field. So I will rename this to date. Then you go ahead and start doing the same thing we have done. So which means you'll go to add column. You'll add the year. You add what did we add again? The name of the month, like that. So after that, you load it. Close and load. This time you have to do 2, then you select connection, and that it is okay. So the moment I load it, it is loaded as date table. So here is my date table. So it is having 273. You see the other one is having 730. It means that this one was stretching maybe the whole year, but this one is picking out only the transactions that were done. So, which means when I come to this, to our data model again, we shall find there that date table here, which means you can go ahead and start connecting it to your different tables like that. But remember, you have to make sure that you remove duplicates, because the date has to be a unique identifier for this table. So I think
so would it still be functional now that you'll be refreshing with newer data?
Exactly, it will, because remember we replicated all the queries that we are running with the transaction file, right? Okay. It means every time the transaction file updates, even this date table updates automatically with the new dates. You get it?
Thank you.
The good thing, it has advantages and disadvantages doing it like this. But in the next sessions, I'm going to show you how we create a calendar table using DAX. And that's why I never wanted to bring it, because we haven't started anything to do with DAX. So there is an option of using DAX, and you say, let me get a table with dates from 2022 January, 2020 January to 2030 December. It will give you all those dates from the 365 dates of each year in that table. So that there it becomes easy that you're very sure that for all the 10 years, you have each date. That even if you're connecting it to returns, but there is no that date is not in transactions, but there were returns, it means you'll pick it. But now when you use this, because you picked it from transactions, the day they create returns when transactions was not having any transaction, it means that date you don't have it here. You get it, eh?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's the disadvantage. But it's good you asked that question. Then I think I can delete this relationship and delete this model. I don't need it. So I'll delete it from the model. It is telling me the table was created by a query. To change this table, change the query instead. So here they are telling us that you can't delete a table from the data query, but you're supposed to come and delete it from this side. So when you delete it from the queries side, when you go back to the Power Pivot and manage, it will be gone. If I go to data view, diagram view, it will be gone. Now, let's try to do quick relationships. Remember here we are connecting date to date, transaction date, and this return date to date, like this. And we have to confirm that it is one-to-many, one-to-many, that way. One-to-many, one-to-many. Now, what is the next? What is the ID we are having here? We are having product ID. This is in the product table. And since this is transaction, it has always to have many. Then we have a customer ID. We look for customer ID here. Where is customer ID? Customer ID. Here we go. This is it. Then we are having the store ID. Last time I told you that you can right click on this and say create relationship. Then that is another option. Then since I'm creating a relationship with the store ID, I will pick here the store query. And it will automatically say this, by the way, this is what you're looking for, because this is the store ID in this table. So I'll just go ahead and say, okay. And automatically it will create the relationship. So you don't need to drag every time. So there are many options. Here there is also store ID. I can drag that to store ID. There is product ID also. I can drag this to product ID. So this is done. We no longer have any other ID. Here we have a store ID. We must be having 4 relationships, 1, 2, 3, and the 4, which is a date. Then this is connected, this is connected, this is not yet connected. This is the region ID. But the region ID, do we have region ID here in transaction? No, region ID is in store, which means these are the tables that give each other hierarchy. Last time I talked about that, which means this connects to this. So the moment this connects to this, it means ideally this region even is connecting to transactions. This region is connecting to customers. So when you pick a customer and you pick a region from this side, automatically they are connected. Why? Because the relationships or the model they are in is complete. This is circular. If you look at this, it is circular. If I put it in another format, you'll see that it is circular. Everything is connected to every table. So that was a recap on data modeling. Very easy, but you just have to understand how you do it. You just have to know which one is the foreign key and which one is the primary key in a table. So to maybe for the purpose of Joseph, when you come to the transactions, when you come to the customer lookup, the transaction ID is a primary key because it only appears once. Every customer has one ID, like employee has one employment number. You never find 2 employers having the same number. That is it. But when you come to this transaction ID, here there are many. That's why we have a star here connecting. When you look at the connection, there is a star to 1. It means one to many. Why? It is because that the same customer here can have more than 100 transactions in a year. So you'll find that his ID is appearing in that column many times. Here we call it a foreign key. So that's the difference between a foreign key and a primary key. So mostly in the dimension tables, you'll always have all the primary keys. You may not always find the foreign key, but there are some tables which are linking to the other where they have hierarchies. Those are the tables you'll find that they have both primary and foreign. Okay, I think that is fine. Now, when we come to our data, this side, it is connected. You can go ahead and start doing your reports. I may not repeat that. Maybe we shall do it in another session where you pick pivots, and maybe for the purpose of someone else who is on a call, that at this moment now you can go ahead and start saying create a pivot. By this time, we say we are creating a pivot from a data model. Remember, that's why we are ticking the other option of add to the data model. Or you can say create a pivot from the external data source, but we already have our data model. If you don't have a data model, then it is an external data source. So I'll go for this. You know, we are all used to creating pivot from the table because you have the data here. But this time we don't have the data. All our data is here in connections. So I'll come here from the data model. They're asking me, do we want to put it here? No, I can say, okay, bring it here and okay. So it will create that. So these are the data models here. So you can go ahead and search even. You can go ahead and search. So I can pick the customer name. You can search always, not to confuse yourself with a lot of scrolling. So where is the customer name? Customer this. So I can put the customer name here. No, that's a customer account number. Where is the customer name? Customer name, customer name. Full name. So I can put the full name here. Now it becomes easy for me now to pick the region, because I already have a data model. The region is coming from, I want the region name. So I can put this sales region. So the sales region, I can put it in columns. So these are the sales regions we have. So we have Central, Mexico Central, Mexico South, that. But remember, when you go back to our data model this side, I've picked a customer name from here, and I've picked a region from here. Because these tables are already combined, I don't need to worry. You worry not. So here, that's why you don't even think about the VLOOKUPs. Potea, that is Potea already, because you already have your data model. So you can go ahead here and put numbers. You can pick like sales or quantity. Do we have quantity? The quantity here under transactions. Actually, I'm picking the quantity under transactions. I can put it here in values. So it will map for me the values, which means this person lives in the west, northwest. So ideally here you cannot find someone living in two regions. Yeah, that's true. You cannot find, which means if one person is in a region, he can't be in another. That's why you have blanks there. But if I remove this and drag it out, it will give me all the total quantities these people have bought. Now it also becomes easy for me to come and pick here the month name from the calendar table, and I can put it here in columns. So it will pick all the month names. Let me come on design and remove, make this tabular and remove all the grand and the subtotals. So here we go. So you see that we have these months. Now there are months I see which are picking null or blank. These are the errors we removed. Remember, our data table was forging out life. So you check that is it, which means here I can change this name and I bring region. So I can bring a sales district here. So the moment I put it here, you see these are the sales district, these are the months. Where are these ones coming from? When you go back to our data model, so you'll see that I'm picking quantities from here. I'm picking the sales district, and I'm picking the month from the calendar, the month name from the calendar. You see how stretchy it is. But imagine if you are not using Power Query. Imagine if you are not using data model. Imagine if you are not using this advanced Excel. You are going to have a sheet. VLOOKUP everything from this table. Take it maybe in the table you're working in, transaction table. Bring here the month name, bring here the year. You come and pick this side, the region. You remember every transaction, it will be repeating. You pick the district. You come here, pick the customer name. You come in, you know, you have a lot of functions and formulas. In other words, when anything gets wrong, the whole table breaks with errors, href, hashref. So with data model, it is very easy. I can disconnect, I can reconnect, I can update data because this is already automated. The moment you get another data, you dump it in that sheet, in that folder, it will automatically update. So that's the beauty of having your data picked in data models. So something else I wanted to talk about, we have looked at the calendar table. If there is any question, please, you raise your concern. Then we are creating a rolling calendar. That one we shall create it on Saturday when we have done some bit of DAX. Then we are going to create, how do you add an index column? Do you know what index means? So remember here we have now two things. We have pivot and when you go back to our query. So if I want to go to my calendar table, no, let me go to my transactional table. This is my transaction table. So when I go to my transaction table, I can go ahead and create index. Index means numbers. I can number my transactions such that it can always be easy for me to point out the number of the transaction. You can also always do that. And how do we create an index column? Because that column contains a list of sequential values that can be used to identify each unique row in a table. So you can do that, but typically this one starts from 0. So how do you add an index column? You just, even if you don't select anything, just come to add columns. There is this here. So it has two options. Do you want to start from 0? Do you want to start from 1? Do you want to start from any number you want? You can choose to start from 1,000. Then it starts naming 1,001, 1,002, 1,003. Maybe you want to create an invoice number. You know, you may want to create an invoice number automatically in your data. You can say, I want to make it custom. Start from 1,000 or 1, 2, 3, such that I will create another column and maybe put that, I rename it to invoice number, which means every time a transaction comes here, it creates a number which I pick as an invoice number. So here I will go ahead and say start from 0. Sorry, start from 1. And here it is, it goes at the end. So I will drag this and put it at the forefront of my table. So I can go and rename this and call it maybe transaction number. Remember, remember not to put space in anything when you renaming. So if I put a transaction number, which means if my team or we are running a report and I tell them that transaction 14 has an issue, someone doesn't need to look for where transaction 14 is. They just have to filter out transaction 14. How can you do that? You can create conditional filters or conditional formats. Like if I filter here a number that is equal to 14, or I'm running a query, a number that is equal to 14, it will filter that 14 from my database. But remember here, you're adjusting a query. So this is the 14. So I'll have to cancel this again. So guys, that's how we create a transaction ID, an index. That's how we create an index column. So this is the index column. If we come back here and look at the settings, we saw it was starting from index number 1. You can say, let it start from index 1, 0, 0, 0, 1. And here they are saying the increment is going to be 1. Every time they will add 1, 1, 1. You can choose the increment to put 2, 2, 5, 5, 10, 10, like that. So the moment I do like that, I will do OK. If I come back to the last, you see it has created this. So, which means if you wanted to add this, you can say, this is my invoice number. It means this invoice number is going to always create automatically. And now the beauty of it all, this is the beauty that can come through with this. We have automated it that this index will always create automatically when you add data. What if you wanted to add the word invoice in front? How do you do that? You can come to this table, you go to transform, Now there is this part of text. It is under is transform this part of text. So the text columns. So you can come here and say, please add for me here, add for me a prefix. So add for me a prefix, INV, that is invoice. Then maybe put a slash. So I can put a slash, then pick a year. No, we can leave that. So you can go ahead and say, okay. The moment I do okay, it automatically converts this to text. So you see that now we are generating an invoice automatically. Every time your data increases, an invoice is created in the system. Why? Just a simple thing that you added an index and you formatted it by adding a prefix, or you can even add a suffix. You can do whatever you want. So which means this invoice will always be automated. Every time your data updates, because this is a query, it will run and update the next transaction that comes. And here you can easily generate invoices in your data. That if I say, let me run all invoices for a certain customer, it should be very, very okay to run that. If you go to your data, let's say, let me close and load this. Now, if you go to your data, you can say, you can create an invoice format, and that invoice format you link it to that invoice number you created. That every time I select an invoice number, it brings all the data, the customer, the quantities bought, all of that. It brings all the data, but we may not go into those details. But that's how systems are created, and ideally with Excel, that's how you can create your own invoicing application, such that you have your data that you can always create an invoice number automatically. When your team enter data the other side, everything is automated. So I think that is it. What else did I want to show you is on conditional columns. Let's go back on our transaction data. So how do we create conditional columns? Now, when you look, the mayor look at our data here. When you look at the quantities, let's go to view and we profile them. You remember, no, we do distribution. Now let's do profiling. So when you profile, you see that we have 3, 4, 2, 5, 1, and 6. Those are the quantities people have been buying. So there are only 4, 5 categories of the quantities they do. The 6 is even less because there are few transactions. Here it is showing you that they are only doing a count of 1,000 transactions. Yeah, that's it. Now, let's profile. We are going to do a profile that anyone who ordered between 1 and 2, okay, between anything above 5, this person we shall say he did large. Maybe between 2 and anything greater than 2, we say this person did medium. Then the rest becomes small. So why did I do this? The distribution. I wanted to know how my data is distributed, such that when I start doing a condition, I know where my data lies. This one helps you on that. So I will remove the profile, then come here. When you click on the quantity, I want to create a conditional column. I want to create a column that when they find a 5, they say this was the large. When they find a 3 or above 2, they say this is medium. When they find anything below 3, it becomes small. So I will come here on add column. There is this conditional column. So when I go to conditional column, this is the dialog you get. First, I will rename this column, and I will rename this column as order size. make sure you put the underscore order size. Now, I'm saying we are looking at the column of quantity. The operator, I want if anything is greater than 5, please here call it large. That order was large. Add another clause. The clause I want is the clause of if. Yeah. Else if, which means if it doesn't lie, it is not above greater than 5, it is going to lie in the next step. So still looking at quantity, I want anything greater than 2. This should be named as medium. Medium like this. Then else if anything greater than this one, anything equals to 1 is going to be small. This one we can even come and say greater than or equal to, such that a 1 will be small, 2, 3, and 4 will be, actually even this can be equal to, greater or equal to. So 2, 3, and 4 will be medium, 5 and 6 will be large. So here I'll say, I'll call this small. Now, that's it. Now here, then you can say else, you call them others. If in case something else comes in that doesn't lie here, just call it others. We always put this option such that we don't get errors. Then go ahead and say, okay. Now, we are going to have a column created automatically for the order size. Now, this column created automatically for the order size, let's do a profiling on it and see. When you come on view, do profiling. Oh, we have, let's change this to text. Do profiling, yes. Because it was text and numbers, it was not defined with the type. That's why it was not giving us the numbers. Now, when you do profiling here, it shows you have a medium with 931, that is 93%. Large is 47, which is 4%. Small, they are 22, which is 2%. Let's try to do some changes here on the condition. What if we changed here on condition and we said, no, let this be just greater than, such that here small is 1 and 2. Then the other ones are medium. So the moment they do like that, let me again do my column profiling. Oh, I have to change this data. Oh, I have to come here. Then I do my column profiling. Yeah. So you see the column profiling. We have this, we have that, we have the other one, which is others. Now it means that there is somewhere where it is not leaning. Here we say the quantity greater than 2, and here we did equals, which means it is picking only 1. Here we shall come and say greater than or equal to 1, such that 1 and 2 are part. So when we come back here and do our profiling, here we go. So that's how you can play with your data, and that's how you can create more columns which you don't have using the conditional column creation. How you add columns, we have seen at condition, we have seen how you add columns with index. Maybe next time we are going to see how you add columns from an example or custom column. This is DAX. Then invoke column with a function. This is DAX. So that's why I don't want to touch them by now. But otherwise, I think now we have looked at, you can deal with everything to do from date and time. With numbers, we saw last time where you multiply, you add, we saw that. Here you can do the extracting length by character. Maybe we shall look at it still next time. We looked at the formats, adding a prefix, a suffix. We have looked at that. Ideally, the add column now, we are 80%. well conversant with this. Now, what if I loaded this? Let me load this. Go ahead on home and load. Now let me change here my table. It's loading. Okay. Actually, these errors we are seeing here, they are being brought about because the data type here in transaction, this change type in transaction data, when you come here on change type, when the type was changed this, we are supposed to use local, like how we used it in the other side. That's why it is picking an error, because it was not local. Let's try to change it. We see whether we shall still have errors. Here I told you, you right click. No. You click and say use local. They are telling me to insert. Yes, I will say insert because I will cancel the other one later. It is coming. Then I want this to be a date. Remember, we used local USA, United States, because for them, they have months in the middle. And we go ahead and okay. So it has changed it date. It means when we come here, still this is date. Then when we come at the end and close and load, let's see whether we shall pick the errors again. It is loading. So some of the things you always have to explore your data, right? And know exactly how it has to pick. Exactly. You see now all the rows have been picked without error. So even when you come here, we're having a null or a blank one, it has disappeared. So that's it. Now, I want to see on this pivot, can we change and have small, medium, and that instead of month name? Yeah, here you can come and search for size. Since it has already loaded, it is here. So when you put size here, you see we already have our data splitted between large, medium, and small. And these are the quantities. It means that here you can easily tell that in the district of Bellingham, they have never made a large order. In the district, these districts have never made a large order. So if you're doing data analysis here, you can always tell that, by the way, here if I filter by values, by labels, it is sort more, then, it is not sort, it is filter. I'm filtering here, filter by values. This is manually drag. Actually, I wanted to filter out the, let me do the manual way. Filter out is not giving a filter in a pivot. So it is only giving sort. So which means you can only sort. So I wanted to remove out the large, but I don't want to stretch you into something else. But here you'll have already done an analysis and you know that in these markets, we don't sell large orders because you have never sold an order that is above 5 here. But these are the same people who are taking more of the small. You see, they're taking more of the small. And when you come to your pivot and you add the grand on the rows, no, it is on the columns, not on the rows. Columns only. So you'll see that it is actually medium is higher. Medium is higher than small and large. So you've already done an analysis, and if you are a sales manager, you completely ask now the sales supervisor in these districts, why are your customers, why can't your customers take an order that is above 5 quantities? The reason is maybe they don't have stores, maybe they don't have this, which means when you're a sales manager or a commercial director, that's where you start planning that we need to put a warehouse near Walla Walla, near this, because they can't purchase what they can't keep. So all those decisions come from data. You have made a data-driven decision.